All right, Saagar, what's on your radar?
Well, Pete Buttigieg's campaign pulled something yesterday that is literally beyond parody. Our friend Ken Klippenstein over at The Nation caught the fact that the campaign has applied for a, quote, Best Brand Identity Award. I cannot think of a better nugget that captures the ethos of his campaign as he rides a media upswing after claiming a dubious victory in the Iowa caucuses. The application itself perfectly captures how hollow and useless the do-nothing small-town former mayor's campaign really is. Just listen to this quote. Is a millennial and a mayor of a blue-collar city in Heartland. He is unapologetically substantive, yet refreshingly salt of the earth. He is progressive, yet pragmatic. They add, quote, several candidates, primarily the women in the race, allowed personal identity to drive their visual brand. Pete's fresh vision for the future of America called on us to reimagine what was possible in presidential campaign branding. The great irony, of course, is that Buttigieg's campaign is built entirely upon his identity because there is no record or substance in anything that he says. They really saved the best for last in the results section. They write, quote, our color palette includes 9 colors, rooted in Pete's life in a heartland American city. The colors are intentionally evocative of the real heart of America, with names like Heartland Yellow and Rust Belt. Now, I know it's just a silly award application, but I wanted to highlight this for all of you before the New Hampshire primary, because it just shows how much of Buttigieg's campaign is just astroturfed neoliberalism. People who intentionally put words like Heartland Yellow and Rust Belt as colors are exactly the type of folks who have perpetuated the policies of the last 40 years to the detriment of the working class. And the funny part is that the people in New Hampshire have a very famous independent streak, and they appear to be waking up to this. Pete was effectively shouted down at a New Hampshire event where people called him Wall Street Pete. Let's take a listen.
Our one chance to defeat Donald Trump. And there's an American majority that is unified not just in who we are against, but in what we are for. Because we are for higher wages and the empowerment of workers. We are for honoring our troops by putting an end to endless war.
Ooh, rough reception there. Pete's new pitch to New Hampshire is that he basically won some Obama-Trump counties in Iowa, and thus, that is why he might be able to win the general election. The truth of the race is actually that Pete's strength in those counties has much more to do with the utter collapse of Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. You can actually see this in the sheer number of votes that he picked up in the second alignment throughout Iowa, and it shows that he was not at all anybody's first choice. Now, Pete got the New York Times to buy into his BS. He even got them to write that his campaign has been aided by electability. But as Nate Silver points out, that's not even true. In a Quinnipiac poll from 2 weeks ago, only 2% of all Democratic voters thought that Pete Buttigieg had the best chance to beat Donald Trump in November, whereas Biden, Sanders, and Warren all broke double digits. The only people that take Pete Buttigieg seriously are the media, who love his model of politics, preaching change while not changing anything. And of course, brand consultants who think that Heartland Yellow is a real color and the ticket to winning the presidency of the United States.
I
mean, how good was that application?
So perfect.
And it was the whole campaign laid out right there. He's so refreshingly salt of the earth. I'm like, oh. You know,
unapologetically substantive. Are you kidding me?
It's just all. This is what McKinsey teaches you to do. This is what the elite class teaches you to do, which is you pay lip service, you dress it up, you make it Heartland Yellow and Rust Belt colors.
What was this quote? The shape of our democracy the issue that affects all issues.
The shape of our democracy
doesn't mean anything.
It's meaningless. It is a meaningless term, and that's the other thing about his electability pitch. He's like, I won some Obama-Trump counties in Iowa, and that's why I'm going to win. First of all, no Democrat is going to win Iowa in 2020. But second of all, it's like, and you look at his head-to-head in that matchup under Trump in that state, whereas everywhere else, total collapse. But he didn't even get the first choice. He was the second choice consensus pick amongst people who weren't with Bernie in a stratified primary. That's not the core electability case that you want to be making. And it's just, he doesn't have any, look, he's doing what he needs to do, but he doesn't have a real path. outside of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Even in South Carolina, even if he wins, he'll probably get, what, third in South Carolina with all of the momentum there. It really could be a battle for third and fourth, especially with Tom Steyer sitting there at second place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just too perfect. Like the Heartland yellow thing and the Rust Belt red or whatever is just exactly what, if you asked a consultant in this town about the Heartland, what they would come up with, how to connect to the Heartland. And whatever you think about Pete, and I think you all know what we think about Pete, basically what the people in that clip where they were booing him and calling him Wall Street Pete think about him. There is no doubt that his coalition has been built on basically white, highly educated liberals. And the fact of the matter is, whatever you think of him, that is not going to be the path to electability. It's just not. You got to turn out the minority voters who stayed home for Hillary Clinton. You got to excite young people and get them out. And yes, you've got to win over some of the blue-collar workers who flipped from Obama to Trump. Pete has zero demonstrated ability to do that. I mean, zero. I know that they intentionally went after those Obama-Trump counties to try to have this talking point, but it's ultimately meaningless when you're talking about the context of the Democratic Party.
The other reason they did that is because you can actually game the delegate system. By racking up more votes in those counties, despite the fact that there's less people, you can get more delegates. That's the other reason that they did that. I mean, it was a game to try and win the state delegate equivalents. It might have even worked, but we're never going to know. I mean, that is the main thing about the whole campaign and the pitch is you see over and over again in there, and that all these astroturfed, terms in which when he gets pressed on the issues. I mean, I think didn't a child ask him over the weekend, they're like, "Will you stop taking money from billionaires?" He said no. Flat out to a kid, which is kind of amazing because he's like, we can't tie our hands behind our backs.
The whole deficit hawk train, which you're like, what? How old are you actually? I mean, all these old ideas in this young man.
If you are a voter who actually votes on the deficit, please comment here and I'll have you on the show. I don't think they exist. I've never think. And this is my own criticism of the GOP, by the way.
Maybe the way back to power for the Democratic Party is to adopt the cast-off, rejected ideas that the Republican Party failed on. That's the way back to power.
You can take it. Please take it, Pete.
So one last thing, guys. Thank you so much to all of you who have been buying and pre-ordering the book, Populist Guide to 2020. It is now officially out. However, this is a good problem to have. It is on back order with Amazon because too many of you went out and got it.
We sold so many books.
Which is amazing.
It's now on back order.
But the best thing to do is go to Barnes & Noble. If you go to rising.substack.com, all the data and links are there so that you can know how to get the book. But Barnes & Noble is the best bet at this point to get the book.
That's right. And we're told it's in stores. If you guys send us a picture, if you tag either Crystal or I,
we'd love that.
Retweet it, post it on Instagram, wherever social media platform. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. All right, next on Rising. As the Iowa Dems award delegates to Buttigieg, the move has come into question by many news outlets and progressives.
We talked to the editor of the Appeal Political Report, who says, not so fast, Iowa Democrats. That's when Rising continues.